Price and output determination under perfect competition. This is the 25th session. For those of you who are watching this series on microeconomics for the first time, I recommend that you follow up with the earlier videos, because each of the topics are numbered and they appear in a sequential manner, so it is easier to learn it in that manner. Let me take up this topic on price determination. What determines price of a product? According to the traditional theory of price determination, the element of time is an important factor that is necessary to understand how price is determined. So, time is necessary because time allows a firm to make adjustments in its economic activities. The supply of a product cannot be changed overnight, therefore time becomes important. Now let us take the time periods. There are 4 time periods. The first one is called market period. Market period is when the time is very short. It may be a few hours, a day or two, generally for perishable commodities. And in such cases, it is not possible to increase the quantity supplied even though there is an increase in demand. So all that can happen with increased demand is the price of the product will increase. You can see it here. The firm will have to sell it from the existing stock, but the firm has a chance now to charge higher prices. So in perishable commodities, that is why during festival seasons you find the prices of flowers and fruits increasing, because it is not possible to increase the output for that particular day. You can see the diagram there. You have got a perfectly inelastic supply curve, a vertical straight line, and with every increase in demand that is happening is the only price of the commodity has gone up. So price determines price is determined by the time that is available for the firm to make adjustment to its supply. The second period is called as a short period, maybe 3 to 6 months, where the firm cannot actually increase its plant size or firm size, but all it can do is to change the quantity that it employs of the variable factor. So in which case, in this short period, it is possible for the firm to make some adjustment, and the output can be increased to some extent. That is why you are seeing that the supply curve is tilted to the right, indicating that with an increased demand, there is also an increased output from Q1 to Q2 Q1. So there is an increased output that is possible. And we can see, in spite of increased output, the prices are slightly higher than before. Now you can find a long period. Long period is when the firm is able to change the scale of production. It could be a year, 2 years, or 3 years, or whatever. So during the time, it is possible for firm to increase the scale of operation, the machines, the plant, etc. And therefore, to suit the demand for the product in the market, the firm can adjust its supply, in which case the price will be lower than that of the short period price. Now here you can find a relatively elastic supply curve, and the diagram you can see that the supply curve is much to the right, indicating it is much relatively elastic. So the output is increased from Q to Q1, and price increases also, but much lesser than what had happened in the case of market period. There is also another period called a secular period, where in the secular period what is happening is 10 years or more, and by the time the industry has the firm has completely adjusted to the demand, and supply has completely adjusted to itself, and the market is set. Now here Marshall calls it as a fully adjusting time for the demand and supply. So what is the lesson we learned from this time period? So role of time is explained in the price setting. Very short market period, prices will rise. Short period, prices will rise, but not as much, because it is possible for the firm to increase the supply. Long period, prices will rise, but the output can be much more adjusted. And secular period is a long price where full adjustment is possible at different prices. Now, once this is done, let us now look at how the firm will adjust its output and how the firm will get profit. This section has got diagrams, And I suggest to you that you understand the logic of the diagram, because by hearting these diagrams will not reach anywhere. There is good logic on why these diagrams are drawn the way they are. So please follow the logic. Now, price determination we have already done. We know that the demand and supply curves together determine the price under perfect market. It is, well, only one price. There's only a price taker. So there is only one price where it is interacting between the demand and supply. Now, the firm, we can understand the short-run equilibrium of the firm using the total revenue and total cost curve. You can see the total revenue curve and the total cost curve. The curved line is the total cost curve, and that cost curve comes from below, and it is cutting the total revenue curve at a point, and then it is going up. Now, in between the total revenue and total cost, the gap Q2 is the output. Q2 gives the maximum profit for the firm. There is a maximum distance between the total revenue and the total cost. This diagram is rather simple. Now let us see a little more, a little different kind of a diagram which you have not done so far. Now, in the short run, how does a firm decide its output, and what is the profit that a firm will get? This can be explained with the help of diagram. In the first diagram is nothing but the price that has been determined. We know that price has been determined under perfect competition by the demand and supply. So that line is extended to the second panel, where we are talking about, we are showing the AR equal to MR. Average revenue is equal to marginal revenue, and that is the same as price under perfect competition. So one part of the figure is only the price determination. Second part, we have just got the price line, which is AR equal to MR is equal to price. Now, what are we doing? We are introducing the marginal cost curve. Marginal cost curve, in the earlier lesson I had explained to you that MC is equal to MR, but MC must cut MR from below. So when MC is cutting MR from below, it is happening only at point E. So at point E, the firm decides its output. When the marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, that just draw a line downwards to the axis, that is your output line. I hope I'm clear. When you draw the marginal cost from underneath, rising above the marginal revenue curve, the point where marginal cost is exactly equal to marginal revenue at point E, draw a line downwards, that will give you the output. This you must learn correctly here, because the same diagram in different forms we will use when we teach monopoly, monopolistic or oligopoly market. So this point is very clear for you, that MC equal to MR, and it is cutting down. Thereafter, we now know the output. Once the output is known, next we have to determine the profit. So what have we to do with the profit? We need to find out the difference between average cost and average revenue. So we have introduced the average cost and average revenue. Let us see how we have done. You can see down average revenue A, that curve has come down. Now, firm under perfect competition makes normal profit. It is included as a part of its price. But supernormal profit or extra profit that the firm makes is the one that we are trying to study. Now you can see here, I have already written for you, output over M is determined by MC equal to MR, and MC cuts MR from below. So to determine the profit, we are now introducing the AC curve. If AC curve is below, you can see here, when AC curve is below AR curve, that means the cost of production per unit is lesser than the revenue that the firm is getting. That means the firm is making profit, isn't it? So the profit is when the revenue curve is above the cost curve. Let me explain this diagram once again. The second panel, MC equal to MR, draw the line from there downwards. That vertical line decides the output. In all topics that will come hereafter in microeconomics of markets, where you're studying oligopoly, monopolistic or monopoly, you will use the same diagram. MC equal to MR decides the output. So output has been decided. Once the output has been decided, next is to find out profit. How do we find out the profit? To understand profit, we need to introduce the average cost curve. Now in this diagram, the average cost curve is below the average revenue curve. It is obvious, the logic is very simple. When the average cost curve is below the average revenue curve, the firm has got per unit profit of EF. So that small length EF is the profit per unit. So if we want to find out total profit for OM number of units, so we multiply that EF into OM, and therefore we get that small rectangular PTEF. So that rectangular shows profit for the firm. I hope I am clear with this. Output MC equal to MR, profit, introduce AC, difference between AC and MR will give you the profit per unit, multiply by the total number of units produced, you get the total profit. Now, that is supernormal profit, because the firm is expected, it is not very common to get supernormal profit. It can be very for a short time because it will attract other firms into that industry. In the case of normal profit, supernormal profit, what happens is when the firm gets supernormal profit, the other firms will be attracted towards the industry. So normal profit is a part of the price for the perfect competition. Now in this particular case, when we want to say price, we have got the second panel which is showing the price. On the left panel, you can see price as AR equal to MR is equal to price in perfect market. Then to get normal profit, to get the output, we have MC equal to MR. We can see at MC equal to MR gives us the output. At that output, what do you need to see is what is the position of the AC curve. In that particular diagram, you are seeing the AC curve is resting on the AR curve. That means AC is equal to AR. When AC is equal to AR, there is no profit, no loss, just normal profit. So that is when AC is equal to AR. Now a firm can also undergo loss in the short run. When a firm undergoes a loss in the short run, the same logic is applied, except that the position of the AC curve is changed. Now it is clear that when the AC curve is below the AR curve, the firm is making supernormal profit. When the AC curve is on the AR curve, the firm is making normal profit. And when the AC curve is above the AR, obviously it is making loss. So you can now find that the AC curve is much above the AR curve, and that yellow space what you are seeing per unit loss is CD, and the total loss is P1, P2, CD. So that entire rectangle yellow area is the loss for Q1 unit of output. The firm can even get down to close its activities when it is not able to even cover its variable cost. So when a firm cannot cover its variable cost, average variable cost, the firm cannot carry on its activities and the firm may shut down. Now, this was a short run equilibrium. In the long run, what happens? In the long run, in perfect competition, it is assumed that the firm neither makes excessive profit nor does it make excessive loss. If the firms make loss, they will leave the industry. If the industry is making profit, the firms will join the industry. So in the long run, according to this idea of perfect market, the firms in the industry will earn only normal profit. That is why here the long run average cost curve will be equal to the long run average cost curve.